I don't know what they are saying, and of course none of them have gone on the record, but I was never questioned, never asked to pay back any expenses. These concerns were never raised with me.
Rachel Reeves in hot water, the scandal possibly endangering Britain's economic situation. Once more under fire, this time for allegedly lying about expenses during her career at Halifax Bank of Scotland.
No one ever raised any concerns about my expenses when I worked for Halifax Bank of Scotland.
The Chancellor's practiced denials of any misconduct have simply served to fan the flames as new accusations surface. About all the boldness of a seasoned politician, Reeves asserts, "No one ever raised concerns with me." But the piling data presents a far more frightening picture.
Let's talk about Rachel from accounts, or lying Rachel from accounts as we can now call her.
Could this be the turning point when a reliable defender of Britain's economy exposes a sinister side? If so, then what does this imply about the financial situation of the country going forward?
Are you comfortable that she's exaggerated her relevant experience?
Rachel Reeves has dealt with any issues that arise.
Before we get into the video, make sure to like and subscribe, and let me know what you want to see next on the channel in the comments. Expenses, exaggerations, and empty promises create a web of dishonesty. From 2006 to 2009, Reeves says every charge she incurred at HBOS was registered, handled, and signed off correctly. She said that nothing could damage her record. No investigation, no disciplinary action was done. Whispers from former colleagues and ex-HBOS HR insiders, however, point otherwise. One former colleague even remembered almost getting terminated under inquiries into top management, suggesting a culture of signing off each other's expenses Reeves might have been involved in.
Now, this was the allegation of an investigation, although the Chancellor herself denies any knowledge of any investigation that may or not have been going on at HBOS in Leeds in the mid to late 2000s.
Is this the same individual assigned to oversee the national budget now? Reeves's argument that numbers never lie is hollow if she was engaged in a scandalous network of false cost claims, covering lavish expenditure on handbags, perfume, and even wine. Numbers seem to convey a rather different story than the one she's seeking for us to hear.
Well, it's disastrous, all due to her pathetic budget, her awful, grotesque £40 billion tax grab budget that has just wrecked this country. It's still going.
The accusations go beyond simple, small-scale financial mismanagement to suggest a systematic exploitation that can erode public confidence in the handling of our hard-earned money.
The growth numbers have come in higher than many expected, but I'm still not satisfied with the level of growth that our economy is achieving, and that's why I am determined to go further and faster in delivering the economic growth and the improvements in living standards that our country deserves.
The consistent, almost blind backing of Prime Minister Keir Starmer for Rachel Reeves adds even more explosive power to matters. With his spokesman stating that the PM had no concerns whatsoever about her behaviour, Starmer has come out in complete defence of Reeves in face of these grave accusations. However, should your Chancellor be accused of possible fraud and you govern one of the most powerful countries in the world, should you then be so eager to discount public concerns?
Reeves and her team deny this. Who cares? You know, we can't believe a word you say. You denied that she wasn't lying about her CV, so you can forget it. You know, you can't cry wolf this often.
One shining example of a leader more concerned in safeguarding his own team than in honouring the core values of responsibility and openness is Starmer's defence of Reeves. Reeves seems happy to keep her out of sight, not willing to answer questions or start an independent probe on the claims. Is this a sincere confidence act or the desperation action of a politician too weak to make the tough calls? What does it say about Starmer's capacity to guide the nation through the stormy problems of modern times if he cannot control even one of his top ministers in face of damning evidence?
Even Keir is considering, maybe I made a bit of a mistake. I made a bit of a mistake.
For a country already struggling with economic uncertainty, Reeves's claimed poor financial management is not a little issue. Rather, it represents a possibly disastrous public trust breach. Britain's economy, which depends on the careful use of its resources by those in charge, is under danger should a prominent person like the Chancellor be found lying about something as basic as spending. The public deserves a Chancellor who is absolutely honest and who precisely and ethically oversees the national budget. Rather, Reeves's denials seem as frantic attempts to cover behind a facade of competency, possibly undermining the national financial stability.
You know, Keir Starmer's obsessed with the rule of law. The problem with what he is imposing on this country, it's not the rule of law, it's the rule of lawyers.
Yes, exactly. Big difference there.
Yeah, there really
the rule
is.
of left.
Imagine the long run Reeves sends a risky message if she's let to carry on in her capacity, while caught in a scandal that throws her integrity under doubt. It implies that not even individuals in charge of handling billions of pounds of public funds are held to the greatest standards of responsibility. Severe shaking of investor confidence, undercutting of budgetary measures, and finally irreversible damage to the economic destiny of the country could be the rippling consequences. To exacerbate the situation, some have also questioned Reeves's professional record. One important document that summarises her work accomplishments, her LinkedIn profile, turned out to be inaccurate. Reeves has long claimed to have spent a lot of time at the Bank of England, therefore strengthening her qualifications as a defender of Britain's economy. Reports, nevertheless, suggest that her stay there was exaggerated by several months. A Chancellor's reputation suffers extended shadows when her very persona is derived from a polished resume. Given she cannot even find the dates on her own CV, can we rely on someone to run the economy? These differences, plus the claims of fraudulent expenses, produce a story that is difficult to dismiss. Reeves's frequent claims of innocence and his argument that no one ever raised any concerns look less like proof of a clear record and more like a well-practiced denial meant to deflect disturbing facts. The public is left wondering what other realities our Chancellor might be hiding if she's ready to fabricate her past. And for the British taxpayer, what will these lies cost? The way Prime Minister Keir Starmer handled this controversy is equally controversial and somewhat alarming. Starmer's unquestioning allegiance to Reeves is a striking sign of his incapacity to run his own team in a government meant to be the very picture of integrity and responsibility. Though major concerns loom big over Reeves's record, he has opted to protect her uncritically, instead of tackling the accusations head-on and demanding openness from his ministers. This begs a basic doubt regarding Starmer's leadership. Is he merely a sheep following the herd, too scared or indecisive to make the tough decisions? Or is he the shepherd guiding the country across stormy economic seas? Starmer runs not just his own reputation but potentially the future of Britain's economy by keeping Reeves under cover from examination. His unwillingness to hold his ministers responsible points to a more general administrative failing that might be devastating at a time when the country most needs strong, determined leadership. A number of pressing issues remain as the scandal develops that might decide the course of British leadership and economy. Will Rachel Reeves finally face the music and resign, or will she continue to dodge accountability with bland denials and administrative excuses? Is Prime Minister Keir Starmer so desperate to protect his team that he's willing to overlook serious allegations that could undermine the nation's fiscal integrity? What message does it send to the public when the very person responsible for managing Britain's finances is caught lying about her expenses, while her leader remains unyielding in his defence? Can Britain afford to have a Chancellor whose credibility is in tatters, thereby shaking investor confidence and risking the stability of the entire economy? Will Starmer's inability to control his ministers and demand transparency ultimately lead to a crisis of confidence in his government? A government that is supposed to be the guardian of democratic and fiscal integrity. These issues touch at the core of what it means to run a country, hence they are not only intellectual. The need of strong, uncompromising leadership has never been more critical in a period of global uncertainty and economic upheaval. Should Rachel Reeves be guilty of the claimed financial mismanagement and dishonesty, her ongoing government participation not only jeopardizes Britain's economy, but also erodes public confidence in its leaders. There are not higher stakes than these. Britain's financial integrity and citizen confidence hang on a knife edge. The time for complacency is gone for those who think that leadership calls for responsibility and openness. Clearly, Rachel Reeves has to answer if the accusations against her are accurate. If so, she should resign from her role. Both the future wealth of the nation and the integrity of the national economy depend on it. Prime Minister Keir Starmer also has to review his leadership approach. One obvious flaw is his unquestioning support of Reeves in face of growing proof of possible misbehaviour. A real leader should not let personal allegiance to supersede the need of responsibility. Rather, Starmer has to show that he's capable of making the difficult decisions, even if that involves dismissing or punishing a prominent minister should the data demand it. Then he may start to rebuild faith in his government and guarantee that public confidence is not progressively undermined. More than just a political scandal, the accusations against Rachel Reeves and the manner Keir Starmer has managed the aftermath point to a fundamental problem of leadership within the present government. Reeves's consistent denials and questionable professional record point to her not being the moral custodian of Britain's money the public expects. Rather, she seems to be caught in a web of lies that could have major effects for the economic direction of the country. Simultaneously, Starmer's unquestioning allegiance to Reeves and his lack of appropriate control call serious doubts on his leadership capacity. A leader who cannot hold his own ministers responsible is one who is finally unable to guide the country through geopolitical, social, or economic problems. The following questions still hang precariously as this crisis develops. Will Rachel Reeves be forced to resign, or will her denials and legal defences allow her to remain in power, despite the clear evidence of financial mismanagement? Is Keir Starmer's unyielding support for Reeves a sign of a deeper systemic failure within his government? A failure that could spell disaster for Britain's economic stability? What will be the long-term impact on the nation's finances if a Chancellor who appears more interested in covering up her past than in governing transparently is allowed to continue in her role? Can Starmer reclaim his image as a decisive leader, or will his apparent inability to control his team mark him as a weak, ineffective leader, a mere follower rather than a visionary? The public has to demand responsibility for the sake of Britain's democratic institutions' integrity, as well as for the future of its economy. The accusations made against Rachel Reeves are grave, and should they be supported, they have to result in forceful response. Likewise, Prime Minister Keir Starmer has to rise to his national leadership's due responsibility. He has to demonstrate that he's ready to make difficult decisions, even if they would involve confronting people closest to him. The administration can start to rebuild the trust sorely required in these stormy times only then. Great Britain's future rests on a courageous and open leadership that does not back off from hard facts or cover under institutional shields. Should Rachel Reeves keep evading accountability and Keir Starmer stay reluctant to answer, the effects on the financial situation and democratic integrity of the country might be disastrous. The country's watching, the clock is running. The issue today is not only whether Rachel Reeves will be held responsible, but also if the whole government leadership is ready to welcome the rigorous, uncompromising actions needed to protect Britain's future. Will Rachel Reeves at last turn to face the music and resign? Will Keir Starmer abandon his unquestioning allegiance and embrace real leadership? Or will he let scandal and dishonesty cause Britain's economic stability to fall apart? These are the cliff-hanging questions defining our age. The responses will determine the course of the country. Stay tuned as we chronicle this combustible narrative, one in which every choice, every deception, every act of unquestioning fealty might shape Britain's financial destiny and legacy of leadership. Real leadership needs nothing less than constant integrity, hence the demand for responsibility is loud and unambiguous. The time for denials and excuses is running out.